Yeah, that is tragedy.
Gonna go live. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello, people, and welcome to the Rational League. This episode is not going to be rational. It's going to be a little bit irrational. But listen, we welcome back Dan, who joined us back after a couple of episodes when he was not here. I hope he enjoyed his time out of the show. Tom is back with us. Of course, Nobbins couldn't make it, so we basically not going to a little bit speak on Pep Guardiola, maybe next episode, because Nobbins just had an emergency and he just couldn't make it. And we have Martin, because Rory is out on holidays. Rory's going to be back. We have Martin. Good replacement, of course, to back his team. And Michael Griggs is back for the second episode running. Absolutely brilliant. Listen, guys, if you're here, we'll talk about Arsenal. Gabriel Jesus is rule. When Gyokeres is very, very close to Arsenal, is he the final piece? We'll speak about Maresca ball in comparison with Eric Ten Hag ball. Is Maresca ball the right ball for Chelsea Football Club? Because I got a lot of heat yesterday for saying that Maresca might not be the guy. Might not be the guy, of course. And we'll speak about Trent. We're circulating that Real Madrid are trying to convince Trent to join them for free with a big signing bonus next season. And the question would be, should Trent trust Arne Slot? That is the thing. But listen, everyone that is here, hit that like button if you just joined us. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And if you're watching this now, stop what you're doing and hit that like button, because it helps the show. It helps the channel massively by you hitting the like button. It looks like thumbs up underneath your live chat. So hit that like button. And if you're watching this on the replay, the first thing you do, like the video, then go on and enjoy the show. How is everyone doing, guys? How is everyone doing?
All good.
Perfect.
Good.
We have to start. I actually Yes, we need to start with Liverpool. I want to Tom's opinion about this Trent thing. And the question is not that should Trent go or leave or anything. Should people actually at Liverpool now, with 3 big players out of contract next season, trust Arne Slot? Should they sign a contract and trust the manager, trust Michael Edwards, and pin a new contract, tie their future to Liverpool under Arne Slot?
I mean, biased, I don't see why not. We've seen almost a month of him now, and it's been very promising, the signs that we've seen. Salah's obviously worked with him the whole time, so he's probably closer in terms of understanding his position than Van Dijk and Trent are. But from what we've seen about the slot and what we've shown in the preseason game stuff, that there's a notable improvement in terms of the style of play and the way we are controlling games compared to last season. We aren't putting ourselves in situations where we're facing constant 2v2s when defending, or 3v2s or 3v3s. There's an element of a structure now. Whether they trust him, I'm going to say yes, because the guys up top in the football club and Michael Edwards has a lot of good rep in terms of Liverpool. He's got, a very good standing, and he's very well respected in the industry. Whether I think they will trust him is a different kettle of fish. I mean, rumours will come out that, I think it was a week ago, someone was saying that Trent had signed a new deal, this, that, and the other. If you were to ask me on my opinion, I think Salah and Van Dijk sign this summer, and then Trent, because of the situation he's in and the club that are really interested in him, he just bides his time until the end of the season and assesses at the end of the season, so he can figure out where we are. With Salah and Van Dijk, it's a little bit different because of their age, whereas I can understand Trent not wanting to commit to a 5-year deal, and then at the end of year 1, it's went horribly wrong, and now he's stuck in his mind for the next four years. So if you're asking me, that's how I think it'll play out. What I'd love is for everyone to sign new deals, and then we avoid going into summers where all of our best fucking players are in the last year of their deal, because that has happened way too often. But yeah, I mean, I hope they stay, but I can see the logic behind why he potentially would hold off on signing that deal.
Can I ask you something? If you got another manager or a club stayed, would the situation be the same, or these guys would have signed?
The situation would be the same. What other manager was there that we could have got that would have, in your mind, drastically changed the situation?
To be honest with you, if you got Xabi Alonso, for example, would have been different. That's what I'm thinking about it. Maybe
again, though, it's the same sort of element of just the unknown. Alonso had more of a rep than Slot going into this. I'll agree on that. But again, I think Trent's position is very much just. I'm separating Trent and Van Dijk and Salah because they're two very different points in their career. So the line of thinking will be different. I think Trent was always just going to wait to buy this time, unless Slot gets that, like he's able to sit down with him and really convince him. But when he gets back from his holiday, but I think Trent's stand was always just going to be to buy this time, because even if you got Alonso in, there was no guarantee it was going to work. And I think Trent's big thing is just not wanting to have himself tied down to a bad situation when effectively he has the power in his hands of where he goes next. In his
is that a bit of a betrayal, like, to Liverpool fans, that he's not, looking to at least give a payout to the club on the way out? Like, if he left on a free, would he tarnish his legacy at Liverpool?
I think some people would be hurt by it, but I think that football's changed. If this was, let's just say, 2004 instead of 2024, the reaction would be very different, and there'll be a lot more hatred and a lot more, vitriol to it. But at this point, there is very little to any allure to being a one-club man. If you be a one-club man now, you don't get praised for it. You get criticised because you're ducking challenges in other leagues. You can't handle other leagues. You can't do this. You can't do that. The allure of it is fading. And Trent's in a position where he could go to Madrid for 4 years, do what he does over there, and then still come back to Liverpool at 29, 30. And then everything will be forgotten very quickly. But
do you think it's an interesting situation because if he signs on a deal, he's likely to price himself out of a move to Real Madrid, right? So he can do like a 1 year.
I don't think.
Yeah, they'll pay for him on a free, and he'll get his sign-on bonus. But if he extends, then he's there for a while. And I think it's an interesting situation with Michael Edwards because you're waiting for him to change the club, but you have to let players go for him to make big changes at Liverpool for there to be actual like progress in that department. So it's going to be hard to like balance your allegiances.
I don't think much change is needed per se. I think we have a very strong foundation to build off of under Slot. I think the change that needed to happen was behind the scenes because the way our club was ran recruitment-wise in the last couple of years was horrendously done. We had Jurgen Klopp, Pep Linders, and whoever Jurgen Klopp's new favourite former teammate was as the director of football, picking their favourite players and just signing them with no sort of real analysis or recruitment strategy behind it. That was the biggest priority, addressing that. But if I look at the squad that we've got, it came third last year, whilst having not the worst injury crisis, but a decent chunk of good players out for extended periods of time. Are the positions that need to be addressed this summer? 100%. Especially, after watching that Real Betis game. Endo cannot start. You really cannot start in this system. You can't pass the ball, but that's okay. It's not wholesale changes that I think are needed. And I also think that when you're going from a manager like Jurgen Klopp, who was there for 9 years and was such a revolutionary figure at the football club, you can't change everything at once. You need an element of continuity, which is why I think that getting Salah tied down, getting Van Dijk tied down, getting Trent tied down, keeping the same core of players for at least the next 2 years, it is massively important to this transition for Arne Slot. So he doesn't need to worry about not only bringing in his players and his style of play, but also trying to figure out how we're going to replace some of the greatest players in this football club's Premier League history. And Van Dijk's not bad. Van Dijk, in my opinion, was the best centre-back in the league last year. Mohamed Salah is still a very good player. Still one of the best wingers in the world. And Trent Alexander-Arnold is one of the best right-backs in the world. So it's not like we're in a situation where we need to get rid of them because they are beyond the sell-by date or anything. It's a case of you just need to make little adjustments here and there, little additions here and there, and assess the squad. Does that align with Trent's timeline? No, that's the big difference that we're in. If Klopp had stayed on 1 more year, I have no doubt Trent would have signed on. But because the transition has happened at this point, I do think he's going to bide his time before signing on. I hope he doesn't. I hope when he gets back on August 5th or whatever, I wake up and see a tweet from Liverpool that Trent signed a new deal till 2029 or whatever. But I just don't see that happening with the position that he's in.
Every time I'm hearing Liverpool people speak, everyone is unsure. But that's expected with Arne Slot. No one is sure about Liverpool. No one.
We won't know much about what we're doing.
There's the very optimistic guys. There's the very optimistic people that say, oh, it's definitely working. We're definitely cooking.
I'm optimistic about the way that we've played so far because I like the way that we've played, and I think we've addressed a number of the issues in style of play that we had last year. Obviously, it's been 2 games, so I'm not going to, here we go. But the signs are promising. The uncertainty comes in terms of the squad makeup and the transfer situation. That's only going to happen in August. We will sign players, but we will only sign them in August. We will sell players, but we will only sell them in August. We are going to do our business very late. So that's where the uncertainty comes from. I mean, now you're starting to get bits and pieces of news coming through, like we've rejected the bid for Endo of like 11 million quid from Marseille. I think it was the right move to reject it, but I'm not against letting him go. If we get a bit more money for him, we paid 16. If I can get 16 for him after a good year for me last year where he fixed a problem for a year, that I'm 100% doing it. Van den Berg's been mentioned as potentially moving on. I'd personally try and keep him round. I don't think you're going to get a better value centre-back for the price that he's looking to move on for. If you can just give him the game time, I think he'll be happy. But that's where the uncertainty is. It's just no one knows where we stand transfer-wise, and we're not going to until August, because that's when everyone's back. That's when Slot will have had a full pre-season tour with the majority of the fringe players that he'd look to move on, and he can sit down and fully assess and fully make his decision on what positions need to be addressed. Plus, if we're trying to sign players and they've been on international tournaments, they're probably not going to want to deal with transfers whilst they're on holiday. They'll be back in August, so it's probably easier to get the deals done when they're back at the clubs, and it's
Man United signed players. Arsenal signed players. That's an excuse, but that's an excuse. Arsenal signed players. Man United signed players. Everyone signed players on international duties. This is. I think it's all about.
Everyone signed players. Everyone signed players, and then you mentioned 2 teams.
Yeah, but these are the 2 teams. These are the 2 teams that actually need signings. Man City literally. Pep Guardiola said.
Can I ask you a question, Mo? Can I ask you a question about?
Let me just make you literally said something.
When did Italy? Because when did Italy get knocked out the Euros?
Second round 16.
Was that in July? Was that like just before the start of July?
Yeah.
So that's now 29 to 30 days after this.
So the players you're signing are only from the finalists, Spain or England.
Well, I don't know. And if it comes out that the player that we signed could have been signed in fucking June, then I'll have an issue with it. But based off this,
so you're okay with this August thing? You're okay with this August?
I'm fine with it. I have to assess at the end of the window.
Have you seen much change? I haven't watched either of the Liverpool games, I have to admit, but have you seen much change from Slot in how Liverpool play versus Klopp?
Much more structure.
Has he done any crazy experimentation? Like
what?
The only thing he's done which won't carry on, which he's come out and said, is because we haven't had a striker in pre-season yet. We've had to play Harvey Elliott and Dominic Szoboszlai as like a double false 9 in a 4-4-2 type thing. That won't carry on. We build up in a double pivot now. I think Curtis Jones ended up playing a lot under him because of just his makeup as a footballer and how well he manages, under pressure. There's been the notable change has been there's a lot more defensive structure now. We have a clear setup for how we want to defend in terms of one fullback goes and one inverts, rather than what we had last year, which was do what you want, a midfield does what it wants, an attack does what it wants. Oh shit, we're getting counter-attacked and we've just got Van Dijk back here. What do we do now? We now got a much more clear structure, but I don't think we're as direct as we were as well. I think there's going to be a lot more of a closer build-up style in terms of passing through the lines rather than what you saw last year where Van Dijk could pick it up and then just ping a 60-yard long ball over to Salah 3 times a game. I don't think that'll happen as much now. Obviously, it's hard to say when you're missing so many of your key players. If I was to go off who I think will be starting the first game of the season, we have 1, 2, 3 of those players currently available. So it's hard to really nail it down yet. But just from what I'm seeing in those 2 games, there's a lot more of a structured build-up and a lot more of a structured defence. And it's a lot less chaotic and more organised is the term I'd use.
We'll see how this goes, to be honest. Like for Liverpool, it's so intriguing to me to see how the season starts with them, to be honest. It's like I want to know what is going to happen with Liverpool. It's the team, because it's the team that is like, we're third. We're going to be third. We have to be third. We shouldn't drop to fourth, but we aren't winning the title as well. We aren't challenging for anything. We're just going to go about our season trying to look good. But the expectations are not there.
This season for me is about consolidation. What we done if we still had Jurgen Klopp, it would be about taking the next step and challenging for that title and winning that title. But because of the change that we've gone through, my expectations just do similar to what you done last year.
Just don't fall off.
Get the top 4.
Klopp's fault at the end. No, I've left the club where
if that's a narrative you want to run with, sure. It's Jurgen Klopp's fault that we're not going to win the league this year because he's left at the wrong time.
He's definitely left at the wrong time, but he's tired. It's all right.
I want us to come third. I want us to have a good run in the Champions League, get to ideally the semis. But if we go out in the quarters to like a Real Madrid or something, I'm not, going to. It's not the end of the world. Be on court to Arsenal. And then have a good cup. Some people differ on the cup runs. I like having a cup run. I like going far on the cups because it gets your fringe players game time and it builds good morale and momentum in the squad. So I'd like to see us try and win another cup this year. Plus, if you win a cup in your manager's first season, it's normally a good sign for what's to come.
I do feel like you guys are going to go into the new season pretty much as you are, right? Like by the time Slot works out what the team's like, you're not going to be able to sign. There's going to be no one left.
I can't remember. I can't remember when is it the 17th? Our first game.
Yeah.
We're on the Saturday, so the 17th. I'd hope we have one signing in the door by then, but we don't necessarily need a whole upheaval. The only position that we need, regardless of players going, is DM. 100% you need a DM. If Endo goes, then you probably need two, unless you're going to really put your faith in a Bajcetic or a Tyler Morton, which could work, as we saw last year with Bradley and Quansah. But do you want to play with fire that many times? The other positions, like I think you could do the left back, but that will only happen if one of them leaves. And no football club in the world with a competent director of football will buy Kostas Tsimikas, so he's not going to go. And then we're probably not going to get rid of Robertson. And the only other one...
And Man United might buy Kostas Tsimikas.
No.
I'd sell Tsimikas to United.
Hold on. Chelsea can buy Kostas Tsimikas as backup to Kukurea. Why not?
They've got Chilwell. They love Chilwell. Don't worry about that.
They really want to get
and the only other one, the only other position that you could do with is left winger. And the only thing that's somewhat, changing our stance on left wing is apparently Nico Williams has turned down Barca. So if he's done that and he wants to stay at Bilbao, then I know a wonderful Colombian winger who is not on high wages, who Barcelona could have for the same price they'd pay for Nico Williams. And then that allows me to go buy Anthony Gordon, England's best left winger, and then we'll live in life.
Anthony Gordon. Anyway, listen, guys, there's 400 people here. We need to get to 300 likes now underneath your live chat. Hit that like button. Don't be frauds. Mods, please push the likes a little bit more. We need the guys. We cannot be 400 people plus here, and we're not even on 200 likes. The like button is essential to the show. Moving on from Arsenal to a little bit from Liverpool to talk a little bit about this Gyokeres deal. So apparently, Arsenal are in for Gyokeres, and I want to get before I go to you, Martin, I want to get Griggs and Dan's opinion about this, and Tom about Gabriel Jesus. This Gyokeres deal. Apparently, Arsenal are bidding. Apparently, Arsenal are close to get Gyokeres as a number 9 next to Kai Havertz. What is going to happen to Gabriel Jesus if Arsenal get Gyokeres? What is going to happen to this guy?
They should sell him.
Sell him. Play on the right wing. I don't know. Something like that. I mean, I know Saudi want him apparently. And if not, he doesn't want. Okay, so he could be Saka's backup. He's played winger before. He's done a good job at playing winger before. Half the time, he even looks like a winger, not a striker, because he can't finish his dinner anyway. So just be on the right wing.
Go against you guys.
Good for him. That's good for him. It's preseason, but yeah, I think he's a decent. I think he's obviously a good dribbler. That's the one credit I always give Gabriel Jesus. 1v1, he could cook pretty much any player in the world. But yeah, Saka can't play every game. If you utilize Gabriel Jesus, he probably even play out left as well. And just cut in, something like that. And left wing is not Arsenal's strongest position. So he's a versatile player. I always say don't really sell versatile players unless you get a really good offer for them. So if they can get a good bid from Saudi and they can somehow convince him to leave, that's fine. But if not, you should keep him and just utilize him across the front three.
Jesus is not.
You guys don't think that actually Gabriel Jesus is better? You guys don't think that Gabriel Jesus is on form is better than Kai Havertz?
But when is Jesus?
He's better on form than Kai Havertz.
I would say
he's fit. Okay, hold
injury
on.
as well. It's questionable.
But hold on. So we are assuming that he's gonna get injured. If Gabriel Jesus stays fit, you guys don't think that he should get?
No, what I'm saying is the previous season's knee injury. I don't think he's looked quite the same since he had that injury. I think there's still a point though where Arsenal have to consider keeping him in their squad because we don't know what Kai Havertz is going to turn up. If the Kai Havertz that finished last season keeps that form and that momentum going, they've got their answer probably in terms of a striker. If they want to sign Gyokeres as well, who's in a different sort of mould, I understand that. But look, they probably need, until that's done, they need to keep Jesus around. I agree. I think if you can get a sizable offer from a Saudi club and entertain that, then it's probably worth selling him. But I think for the amount of fixtures that Arsenal might look at playing next season, keeping someone like Gabi Jesus around is probably more important than getting rid of him.
I've just never seen it. I've never seen it with Jesus. He was the backup striker in a team that didn't have a striker. Like, and that stuck with me. And then he had a good first 6 months at Arsenal. And then the same Jesus started to come through again. A guy who you don't really trust in front of goal in that way. A guy who likes to just all of a sudden miss a month or two right when you're expecting him to take that next step. And for the money that he's probably on, like, he wasn't on crap money at City. And I assume that Arsenal paid him close to, if not more than what he was on at City. Having that as a backup right winger, to me, just doesn't make sense. I think if you get Gyokeres in, you move Jesus on, you outgrew Jesus very quickly. I don't think Jesus isn't a league-winning striker, and Arsenal, when they signed him, didn't expect to jump into challenging for the league in the way they did. So, and it's the same with Zinchenko. They both signed them, outgrew them very quickly, and now you're starting to see that they don't really fit in the same way. Jesus, I think, should be moved on. You bring in Gyokeres and then use the Jesus money on an actual right wing backup that isn't a glorified mid-table striker or Europa League striker, and chuck him there and hope for the best. I really do.
I think Gyokeres' arrival probably spells the end for Nketiah rather than it would for Jesus.
Nketiah's end is already spelled out, so I'm not quite sure. Look, I think people talk about football being robotic these days, and we don't have any pure, actual, free footballers. And I think Jesus is one of the last of that kind of breed where he'll just go on a mazy run and he'll beat three man and create an opportunity. Maybe he'll miss a couple of goals, but we need these kind of players that are there off the bench to come in and make a big difference in the big games. And we saw him do it against Bayern when we were a goal down. We gave him away an easy goal, and he took 5 of their players out and passed it to Trossard for a finish. So I think we need him. I don't care about the money. It's 275 grand or whatever. I think he's coming back from that knee injury. He looks pretty hungry in preseason, and I know Liverpool fans have this innate fear of a player that's got skill who can't finish because you guys have issues with Diaz and Nunez, but that doesn't mean that Jesus is completely useless. I think he can come on for Saka, he can come on for Martinelli, and he can cause problems for the opposition defenses. And whether or not he is the one putting the ball in the net, I don't care. But he's got that instinct about him. He's won leagues with City. I think people disrespect him a little bit too much. But, everyone, each to their own.
I like Gabriel.
I've just never seen it with Jesus. He always felt like he.
What do you mean? Never seen
the
what? Like you never seen what?
I've never seen a guy who. No, I've never seen a guy who I could trust to lead the line for a title-winning team.
But
didn't he win the title 4 times with City?
Was he ever the leading man there? Like I said, he was the backup in a team.
No, but he doesn't have to be the leading man. I think that's the key. We're not relying on him to be the 20-goal a season striker. We're relying on him to come on and change the game.
So it's 2 different elements. I don't see Jesus being happy with being a substitute, and B, it being a smart move to keep a player like Jesus on the money that he's on with the value that he has as a substitute when you could instead move him on and bring in someone younger with potential who probably suits the role better. And B, if you don't sign Gyokeres, I just never seen Jesus as the guy who you could have up front to work off of and to win a title with. It's just never been that way.
I think if you look at the winger market, that there's not really a lot of quality out there with the potential that can really challenge Saka, especially for the money. I think you're looking at Leao for 130 million or something like that, or Neto with one leg, or it's a real struggle to find someone quality that you can go out and grab. Now, Nico Williams everyone was unwanted, but he's going to stay at Athletic Bilbao. Then next best is Anthony Gordon's the highest rated winger on the market. It's silly season. So letting Jesus go. What is he? 26, 27. He's fully experienced. He's won a lot of things, and I think it's disrespectful to group him with Zinchenko because yes, I think we've outgrown Zinchenko as a left back, and I don't think they need to be grouped together necessarily. Jesus he's not like anyone else we have in attack. And when I'm looking at us against Bayern and we need a goal and we bring on Nketiah, I'm just laughing. But if I'm bringing on Jesus, I feel like there's a chance that something's going to happen. So, you know, I can't convince anyone that if they already don't like Jesus that they're going to change their opinion on him. But I personally like him, and I think he's worth the money.
Now, Arteta said that he's going to have a good big role at the team. Then he goes and sign, and then the guys go and bid for a striker. And I'm not sure. Him having a big role at the team, I agree with Tom. I don't think this guy is going to settle to be like a bench player. I don't think he's that guy. He's always going to demand playing time. And that's not a problem for me. That's a player that wants
Well, he
to
can
play.
force his way into left wing. Like, he can have that position. If he can keep Trossard and Martinelli out of the team, then that's up to him. But I think the bigger question is what would happen to Havertz. Like, what's Havertz going to do if we buy Gyokeres?
Havertz has the advantage of being able to cover
Havertz
two
a
roles.
high-paid guy.
No, but
Yeah, so.
Havertz has the advantage of being able to cover multiple roles. So even if he doesn't necessarily start a game as a striker, whilst it doesn't necessarily work as well, he can drop into midfield
and barely cover one.
Give you something there. Jesus, I just don't see it in the same way.
But Jesus can play across the front three. He can play the false nine, left wing, right wing. He's not like, even he can hold up the ball pretty well and link up play. But I think Havertz, you're going to get into that discussion of can he play midfield, and that'll get Mo triggered. So I don't want to get too deep into that one. But
what?
If you are signing
Mikel Moreno, if you're signing Mikel Moreno and signing Fabian Ruiz, Kai Havertz is not sniffing that midfield.
We're not signing
He's not
both
getting
of those
anywhere
guys.
Close.
We're not signing both of those.
Because I saw that Arsenal are targeting 4 players, 2 midfielders, a front line player, and a centre back. You already got your centre back or left back, whatever. And if you sign Gyokeres and you go for 2 midfielders, assuming that Smith Rowe is going to go, because now I think Fabrizio Romano said that it's very close, the deal between you and Fulham. So you will need 2 midfielders. So it makes a lot of sense to sign both midfielders, Mikel Moreno and Fabian Ruiz. And I think that puts you right. If you get Gyokeres, Fabian Ruiz, and Mikel Moreno with Calafiori, I think you're favorites to win the league. Especially
I don't see us
when
signing
Pep
both
said,
of those guys. They're too similar. I think we're just going for both of them, and we'll end up with one of them because we've got Nwaneri coming through. We need to create a pathway for these kids, and there may be some other players playing in midfield like Zinchenko or Timber or something like that we don't see coming. But I don't see us. I think they're too similar. They're almost identical player for what we need.
Mikel Moreno and Fabian Ruiz.
Yeah, I think in that left 8 position, they would probably want to be there. And I don't know, we've got Rice playing up there. We've got Partey and Jorginho. It's too complicated to have Ruiz and Marino coming in. I think it's one of the
both are 28. I get what you're saying. Both are 28. But I think if Arsenal get these 2 players, I think you're in a different place.
I think they're only signing one. I think it's probably going to be Marino.
Yeah,
and then the backup is going to be the kids.
You think that's enough, though, for Arsenal? You think that's enough for Arsenal?
I don't see why Arsenal don't put some faith in the kids. I mean, that Nwaneri's looked very good whenever I've watched them play.
Yeah.
Like,
I saw your debate yesterday, Mo, about Nwaneri and Menu. I caught a little bit of that yesterday. I think Nwaneri's good, man. He's considered the best 17-year-old in the country. So when you're the best in your age group in England, and what is a now very talented young English talent core, I think he's really good. I'm not saying he should be a starter in the Premier League and stuff like that. Obviously, whatever midfielder they get in, or Declan Rice starts there with an XL Party or Jorginho. But cup games, for example, Carabao Cup, I think Nwaneri should be one of the first names on the team sheet. Let's see what he looks like against that kind of level of opposition. I think he could do the job. Personally, I think, bro, when you're that talented at 17, from a decent academy,
that is the difference between me and anybody else. I think Arsenal should not actually get this season. Arsenal should not have any relying on a 17 years old. But anyway, that's for I think Arsenal
haven't been the last
Smith Rowe
seasons either. That hasn't worked.
I think, in my opinion, yes, they sell Smith Rowe, they get a midfielder. They already wanted a left 8, which is Mikel Moreno. If you sell a Smith Rowe, you get a midfielder in.
Okay, but look at that. Look at that, for example.
My view.
You sell ESR, he's got no minutes. So you're buying a player to have no minutes. Like he's not coming to. It's like Reece Nelson. He'll be sold, But if we buy someone to replace him, they're basically seeing 100 minutes a season, right? Like it's not going to be a Fabinho and Moreno waiting to get a little bit of game time outside of Rice and Partey and Jorginho and all these other guys, right? We need to be realistic about how many midfielders we need. I think we need
as well. If Arsenal, and I do think Arsenal have a very good academy, but if Arsenal, they've just lost. I think they're going to lose if they've not already lost. And that striker who was like a fucking freak of nature, who was scoring like 8 goals a game or whatever.
He's coming to us.
Yeah, like it. If you want it, as good as your academy is, if you want to keep these players around and help to keep the next group of fantastic young talents that you've got, they need to see that there's a clear pathway to the first team and that there is a success path. Saka does that to an nth degree, but that was years ago when Arsenal were in a much worse state. Now these youngsters coming through are going to look at it and go, well, look at Nwaneri. If he can't get a game, how am I going to get a game? Why should I continue
Saka's
to stay here?
now the problem, right? Like we lost Cozy Dubry to Brighton, and he was, Saka 2.0 that was supposed to come through, but he didn't even see a pathway because he's not going to get enough minutes. So I think that's a big challenge for us to bring in players, keep our good young players. We've got to give them some time. That pathway's
got to be there because you want to keep that good academy and you want to keep bringing through these great talents because as a football fan and as a fan of the club, there's not really a much better feeling than seeing an academy kid come through and smash it because they're one of you. But you don't want to, and I think it's the same with Chelsea as well. You don't want to close off that pathway and then start losing out on fantastic talents because of A, stubbornness, or B, oversaturation. I think that Arsenal should be looking at giving Nwaneri chances next year. Because what's not to say Nwaneri comes in and then takes like a duck to water and all of a sudden he gives Arsenal something that they really didn't expect to have next year and saves them 30, 40 million in the market. But he's homegrown, he does this, that, and the other. You're never going to know that if you don't take the chance. And if it doesn't work out, oh well. We have to play for 100 minutes.
I think you're also told by like the age of Marino and Ruiz, right? They're both like 28, so they're like you kind of when you Arsenal targeting those level of players, that means that those guys are stopgaps. Because if they really wanted to like upgrade massively on that position, they would have gone for like a 23, 24-year-old for the next decade. The fact that it's 28, I do think that Nwaneri, Tom talks about that pathway. I do think he's the next one to have the Saka-like impact. Not going to say he's going to start like because Saka started a lot of games when he came through, right? Because like Tom mentioned, Arsenal were in dire need of just a little bit of fresh energy. They're not in that dire need now, obviously, but when I look at Nwaneri, he's probably already better than Fabio Vieira. I'm going to be real. I don't rate Fabio Vieira in the slightest. He's better than him. Emil Smith-Rowe was an NPC for the last 2 years. He did not play a single minute. So by selling him, you're basically making 35 mil for a guy that's been MIA for 2 years now. So that's instant profit. Give him those minutes. Carabao Cup, FA Cup, a game against Ipswich in the Premier League, Emirates. You can play him there. And bro, this is the perfect time to break through a youngster if I'm Arsenal because you already have your team stabilized. You have a core of players that the system is ready. And Arteta's a good coach to just be able to nurture Nwaneri the way that he wants to nurture him. This is what Pep did with Foden. This is what Pep is trying to do with Oscar Bob. This is what he tried to do with Palmer, but Palmer obviously was like, I'm too ready for this. I can't do another season of being a bench player.
Palmer is a good example because like he pieced out, right? He didn't see the time that was going to be there for him, and Chelsea gave him that opportunity.
Like 21, so it's like, and when you're
you guys have to see the difference between Arsenal and Manchester City, and I want to get this take. I want to get Dan's opinion about this. Manchester City were in a place to integrate players to a winning team already. Integrate here, risk playing this guy, like you know what I mean. Give this guy minutes. The team was already winning titles, the Centurion team, and the season before, and then when they lost the title. And they keep winning and winning. Arsenal aren't in that place yet. We are treating Arsenal as, we experiment with this player, experiment with that player. Do Arsenal have this time? That's what I am like. People say in the chat, someone put a comment, the comment is gone now. He said, Arteta has to deliver, right? Has to win and have faith in the youth and compete with Pep. Is that too much? The guy should have a ready-made team now and go with it, win the league or win the Champions League or do something big because you have been here for a lot, spent a lot of money. This faith in youth, it's just for me like that is left for the teams that are ready. a team that is already made ready. Arsenal still have areas they need to address, like on the bench and up top. And I don't think that. I think you guys are treating Arsenal like they already won the league and now they are defending their title. So yes, you can do that.
The Arsenal squad you want kills off the youth because there's no pathway through, because there's no spot for them to look at taking. You have to have certain areas in the squad. And we're not saying Nwaneri comes in and starts 38 games in the Premier League. We're saying Arsenal keep the same midfield they've got now. Arsenal keep the majority of the same bench players they've got now. And you integrate 2 or 3 youngsters and let them have a chance. Because if they're as highly rated and as good as is being mentioned, they can make the difference. They can add that youthful energy. They can be.
We're not saying bench Declan Rice for Nwaneri, saying we're saying bench Fabio Vieira for Nwaneri because he's not good. Like, we're saying that. It's like, and for me, I think Arsenal, I'm not saying they're ready. They're not Manchester City, but Nwaneri playing 10 Premier League games will not be the difference between Arsenal winning the Premier League and not winning the Premier League, in my opinion. I think that's too much pressure. That's focusing on the kids.
I am convinced that it will be.
Nah, I don't think so, bro, because in my opinion, bro, every top Premier League club has always had an academy pathway for at least 1 to 2 players that won. Look at Fergie, for example. 1992, United were under pressure to win the league. We hadn't won the league in almost 20 years. He brought up the class of 92. He trusted Ryan Giggs, help me play about 15, 20 games, and we'll see what we do to the league and stuff like that. And they ended up winning the league. You always have to have a pathway. Klopp, last year, they were under pressure. He played the kids. I'm not saying it didn't win in the league, but it helped deliver them a cup.
Because they had a lot of injuries, though. Because they had
Arsenal might have a couple of injuries to the extent.
I think we saw
the year before.
Quansah and Bradley played a lot even without the injuries.
I think we saw with Rico Lewis.
Tom, how old is Conor Bradley, Tom?
Like 20. He was 20 last year, I think.
20. That's 3 years difference in development. Cole Palmer.
But Nwaneri is regarded as the best in his age group.
Okay, so we are assuming that Nwaneri. Let me just get this straight. So we are assuming that Nwaneri is the same level as Kobe Mainoo, right?
He is.
I mean, if you really want to go with it, Mo, we gave 2 debuts to 16-year-olds last year.
Okay.
Like, Nwaneri is considered the best 17-year-old in the country. In England, he's considered the best 17-year-old in the country. We have a kid in Barcelona that's a top 3 player in La Liga that just turned 17 2 weeks ago. The kid, what's it saying? If you're old enough, you're good enough. That kind of stuff. Or you're good enough, you're old enough. That's saying. That's how it is in football. There is special.
I actually haven't watched. By the way, I haven't watched Nwaneri at all. I only watched him this last game. Just by the way, and he looks good and everything.
By the way,
I've watched a lot of his games. He's a very talented player, but I think we need to remember what got us here. It's like ESR is the guy who turned this project from a 28-year-old bunch of like semi-has-been players into like a youthful project that pulled us out of the mud. So I think that putting faith in these young players is exciting. It's for me, it's better than a signing, and I don't want us to just turn our youth players into like a PSR like. Oh yeah, we're gonna like bring these guys up and then we're gonna sell them for 30 mil and it'll be pure profit. I mean, there's no excitement in that. I want to see these guys playing with our first team and not looking out of place. And Nwaneri's looked like that every time he's been given a chance. And Miles Lewis-Skelly, the guy, he's a DM, but he's been playing left back for us in preseason. I think he's an unbelievable talent too. So hopefully there's some way where we can find a way to keep these kids around and develop them as part of our team and do it in like the League Cup or the non-important games where we think that it's not going to be too bad for them. No chaos.
AMT saying Gabriel Jesus must accept to be on the bench or get out. Maybe. I don't think Gabriel Jesus is that guy, AMT. I actually don't think so. And I think he's good enough fit to start for Arsenal. Ahead of
I think the question is his fitness. Is he past his knee injury? Is he going to be up back to the level? I don't know. Only the medical team know that. So if they don't think he's getting there, get rid of him.
Does anybody here think that Arsenal should be favorites to win the league title next season, especially when Pep's saying that they won't get any signings?
No.
Because of Pep?
It's Man City. They're not signing anyone, but they're not losing anyone.
Are they losing Alvarez? What's the story with him? Is
he's still
so
there?
This guy Alvarez is like he's gonna stay.
Manchester.
They're asking for 77 million. 77 million pounds for the guy. a lot of money for him. And apparently, there is 2 Premier League clubs for him, Arsenal and Chelsea. And this is the story that is circling around. I'm not sure if Man City will sell.
City won't sell to Arsenal again.
Yeah,
Fuck
you
it
can
now.
rule out Arsenal. Yeah, that's not happening.
Why not? They won the league twice, selling to Arsenal 2 of their players.
Because Arsenal are not in the same state that they were then.
2 years ago.
I actually think we're
And
favorites.
I don't think actually Alvarez chooses Chelsea. Like if he's offered Chelsea,
wants
I don't think
Spain.
he chooses Chelsea.
The guy wants Spain. He doesn't want to.
Yeah, he wants a warmer weather, but
No, it's 30
I think he
degrees in London
stays.
today. He'll come Chelsea.
Yeah, in the summer. What happens in December though, when it's raining and like 10 degrees Celsius? That guy don't want to be there.
if he comes to Chelsea, does he deserve to be the highest paid player at Chelsea? Is he better than Cole Palmer though?
Sterling.
Who's the highest paid chip?
Yeah, Sterling and
He's definitely-
Lukaku. Actually.
No. If you go,
Sterling.
guys, forget Sterling, right? Forget the Sterling situation is a completely different situation than all the other players. He's like someone who was signed on a 350 grand a week. Is completely different. But does he deserve to be higher than the Caicedos, the Palmers at
I
Chelsea?
think the only player
these guys are gonna-
arguably doesn't deserve to be higher than is Palmer. But I think that he's got a strong argument to be higher than everyone else.
He could
Like,
probably come in on a
confidence.
comparable wage to what Enzo's on. I think that would be something I would look at if I was coming in and I knew someone was in the team and they're probably friends from the national team. They're going to have conversations about how much they're getting paid. And
Does anyone know what he's on at City? Because I feel like he came in for 15 million and was probably given 100 grand a year or something like 100 grand a week.
He's on 100 grand a week at City.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I
So
feel
he'll probably want
I feel
double
like
that.
Chelsea would double that to try and secure it.
20K,
And Chelsea
20K
are-
is not bad. That's not bad.
I actually think we're favourites over Man City because I don't think that there's anyone out there that they're going to improve their squad with, and I expect us to improve another step with the players we're bringing in, and also Timber and stuff coming back from injury. So I'm not shying away from that pressure. I think that City for me are just holding the level, and it's very hard for them to get better at this point without
Yeah, but
substantially
Manchester
changing their
City
personnel.
don't need to get better to win the league.
Well,
They
they may need to.
Combined.
If we can get into the 95-point range, then they will need to get back to a higher level than they have been in the last couple of seasons.
But
So
that would need
that's
them
what I'm
to
hoping
go-
for.
Your own
City
manager
just need to
said-
keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree, Tom. Your own manager
Like-
said you need 114 points to guaranteed win the league. So you're like 20 points off there saying 95.
There's no guarantee win the league. I mean, yeah, he says that. It's a nice soundbite. But I think that there's more room for us to improve. We haven't seen the best of us, but I think that City are sort of holding on to their level, and it's harder for them to find someone in the market that's going to replace a KDB or a Bernardo Silva.
What if it doesn't have? What if it doesn't have to be through the market though? What if it's through the academy? Oscar Bob,
Well,
he's gonna get more minutes this season, and he's better than a Jack Grealish. He's gonna get more minutes. He's better.
They've
he's better than Bernardo on the
already
right.
addressed their big problem as well, which was they needed another winger like a
Savio.
Doku, and they've got that in Savio. Like City last year, it was the worst season of Haaland's career. KDB missed half of it. Stones was missing most of it through constant injuries, and yet they still won the league. If City are able to address just one or two of those, i.e. KDB plays a full season and Haaland returns back to what his standard has been across his career, then City automatically improve by minimum 6 points, if not more.
do you think a 33-year-old KDB is going to keep those chicken drumstick hamstrings attached to his bones and stuff? Like, I don't know whether you can really rely on him like playing 30 games a season.
I don't think he'll be. I don't think he'll play. Pep, I think by obviously Foden's going to play a lot more centrally this year than he has in previous years. But I think they're keeping James McAtee as well. He might play a couple, like kind of keep KDB fresh. And I think Pep is going to use KDB as like an ultimate X factor weapon and just kind of.
The sign of Savio kind of means that Bernardo doesn't need to do as many right wing shifts, so we can go back into the middle.
Central. I think their only issue is there's no Rodri backup. That's the only issue that they have. If they get a backup six to Rodri, that instantly makes them like clear favorites.
I had this conversation the other day. There's no backup to Rodri that you can buy that's gonna like come in and just make you feel like, oh yeah, everything's gonna be fine.
Calvin Phillips is staying now, though. No,
is he? Is Edison staying?
Did you see the play he
latest?
had the last game? Oh my god, this guy fell off.
I just think unless Rodri gets an injury, I just think having any other team than City favorites is crazy. Because I think I'm gonna have City favorites until someone actually beats them to the league. Until that happens,
That's fair. I mean, no one's
until
sure.
match day 38. Because the last couple of years, I said City aren't gonna win the league. They're not gonna win the league. They ended up winning the league. So I'm not making the mistake the third time. I've learned from my mistakes. I'm just gonna say they're gonna win the league, and I hope I'm proven wrong by an Arsenal win the league or anyone else.
Or Man United.
No, we're not there yet.
No, Man United
Come
are
on,
not
bro.
winning the league.
No, we're not winning the league yet.
People are saying that Arsenal getting Moreno will hamper Nwaneri. Partey and Jorginho are in the last year, so he will get enough time to play next season. That's my point. Let him get to 19 years old, and then he can play football. Arsenal, why does he have to play
Marino doesn't
17
hamper.
years
No,
old?
we said Marino and Reese.
The other argument would then be, once he gets to 19 years old, it'd be, he's not played first team football yet, so can you trust him at 19 to step in? So he's stuck in an endless cycle. If Nwaneri is the talent that is being said that he is, he can handle being a bit part first team player next year.
I think if he's given a chance, he'll make a name for himself in the team. Make it very hard to not play him, which I think is the key. He has to prove it. But I think the super chat was saying Marino is going to keep him out. I think Marino's great because it'll take the pressure off from Nwaneri, and Marino can play most of the time, and Nwaneri can come in. But if we get Marino and Ruiz, then Nwaneri's not getting any game time. Full
We'll
stop.
see how it goes with Arsenal, but for me, it's a must-win league. Arsenal this season. Moving on to the Maresca Bowl until
Celtic, eh?
And I-
Side Celtic. Gotta respect Celtic. Top team Celtic. Brendan Rodgers, top manager. Maybe he could be available this summer. Who knows? Maybe Chelsea could have brought Brendan Rodgers back to the club after all them years.
Do you know what, Tom?
a lot of people are downplaying that performance, by the way. They're just downplaying that. No, it's just a preseason game.
No, there's levels to a preseason game. That for me summarized everything that's been going on at Chelsea since Clearlake took over. I think it's an absolute summary of the mess that Chelsea Football Club find themselves in right now. Am I shocked? No. I wasn't sure what to expect from Maresca. I had a lot of people tell me that he absolutely fits the Chelsea squad, and they will be able to play his system straight away. There'll be capable players in Maresca's system. Well, that proved that it's not going to be something that's a really quick process. That Wrexham game and that Celtic game show that these players aren't ready to play in a system that Maresca expects them to be capable of playing. So, look, I feel a bit sorry for Maresca because I think he's coming into a club that's a mess, but he's ultimately decided to take the job. And it's probably hard to turn down when you're a championship manager and you're being offered a job of a former top 6 Premier League club. But it's really, really difficult to understand what the idea is behind Chelsea and Clearlake's goal for where they see the team, apart from making profit off of players that they're buying for cheaper than they expect to sell them for.
How about the football, though? Do you think he has time to implement?
He's going to need a lot more time than I was previous. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an expert on Maresca and I've seen I barely watched Leicester. I actually saw them play Chelsea, and I think I watched one other championship game. Everyone told me that he's a better fit for the squad than Pochettino. The way he asks his team to play football suits the style of play that Chelsea have in our squad right now. From what I've seen, Pochettino got more out of his team in pre-season quicker than what Maresca did. Maresca's performance, Maresca's 2 games that he's got under his belt already apply pressure to him that could be unbearable going into the first game of the season. We've got Club America, we've got Real Madrid, and I think we've got Inter Milan, and then we go into Manchester City first game of the season. If there's not a win in those 4 games, I genuinely think the fans will already be on his back. I genuinely think that because I've seen it before with Sarri. I've seen it at Chelsea. Chelsea have been robbed this season of the excitement that every football fan gets in the summer. Everyone gets that little bit of hope. What are we going to do? What can we do? Can we dream this summer? Can we see us winning something? Liverpool fans, they're getting optimistic about how good how their chances look this season. Arsenal fans are talking about being favourites to win the Premier League. Chelsea have been robbed of that this summer. Absolutely robbed. And the football that we saw isn't helping that. You know, if Maresca had absolutely gone out there, set his team up in a way that and dominate Celtic and we win 4-1, all of a sudden the excitement's there and you can start talking. The fact we lost 4-1 to a Brendan Rodgers Celtic side is crazy. And the football was diabolical. Defensively,
I enjoyed the football. I think the football was a brilliant one.
Honestly, Brendan Rodgers has moved
was
on.
fantastic.
Oh my gosh, Tom, don't even get me started, right? We sold Thiago Silva and replaced him with Tosin. I've had so many people tell me that Tosin is absolutely at the level of Thiago Silva when he left. Tosin is perfectly good enough to be Chelsea's best centre-back over the likes of removing Trevor Chalobah. What I saw was embarrassing from a player that wants to be starting for a Premier League side who's in the top 10. Like, it's crazy. We're a
How
mess.
do you feel about the signings? Like, you guys have signed like 11 players, but I don't know how many are for the first. Like, it's like a handful
I think
for the
two.
first team.
I think two or three maybe. I think we've now signed Dewsbury Hall, Tosin, a new goalkeeper from Villarreal who I've never seen, and we're going to sign a centre back from Boca Juniors who I've been told is unbelievable. And the only way I think people might have watched him is on Y Scout. I don't know how anyone else has seen that.
Chelsea fans tell everyone every signing they make is amazing. And yeah, I watched them with my own eyes, and half of them aren't actually that great.
I've watched Tosin play. I've watched Dewsbury Hall play. I understand where their level's at. Their level isn't good enough to be starting for Chelsea Football Club, in my opinion. But this current situation, our Chelsea Football Club mid-table, would they get into Fulham's side? Yes, they would. Would they get into Leicester's side, lower level Premier League side? Yes, they would. If you're signing those type of players, they're not going to elevate you to another level. They're going to keep you at that level. And I think that's what Chelsea are doing. And that's why I'm struggling to understand. But the football side of things
that you're making are stupid as well. Like
they are.
Chalobah, what's Chalobah getting forced out the door? I've always thought he's one of your best defenders. Petrovic was actually your best goalkeeper last year.
Yeah, but that's with the squad. The problem, as I think someone said that, the problem is, so they signed Disasi. They paid money for the. What are they going to do with Disasi?
Get rid of Disasi.
They just signed.
They can't sell him now because he's injured.
Badiashile was signed 18 months ago. What or 2 years? What are they going to do with Badiashile? Like, you can't. But that's the problem. You can't. You cannot.
You can. And you don't get your money back, but you can get rid of him.
See the difference? And they are in financial trouble. But that's the problem.
No, we're not. We're not in
players.
Financial trouble because we're still.
So basically, Chelsea should should drop any football ambition and instead have the ambition to get really good financial books and have really good money.
That is the only way I can see Clear Lake's strategy like applying to anything is in terms of their financial success. Other than that, I genuinely do not see
stupid football decisions. So
of course they are, Tom, because they absolutely look. They've hired Whit Stanley and they've hired Lawrence Stewart, and they absolutely are proving that the ideas they're making are crazy. They're off the scale in terms of how we've seen the demise of a big football club, a British footballing institute, one of the most successful football teams in the last 25 years in England. The demise is quicker than we've seen of any other team. And straight away, Clear Lake should be asking questions, but instead they're not. They're backing them and trusting them to correct their decisions or give them another chance. And
is this going to be the 4 years? If you guys don't get Champions League, I think Mo said this on another stream. Is this going to be 4 years without Champions League or three? Three now. Because when it happened to Arsenal, we just ended up collecting players that just weren't good enough, and then you end up with like a Mustafi, Socrates, Torreira squad. I think
that's the difference, though, isn't it? These players were signed when they were at an age where you might argue that they had some experience or they were offering something. Chelsea are fully backing the idea that these players are coming in and they're going to be, for the next 10 years, they're going to be at a level which is outstandingly good. And look, it might mean that you sign 50 players and you end up with a squad of 25 that are all very, very good. And for the next 10 years, it works out. But that is the absolute perfect model that they've got in place. Realistically, though, in football, the chances of that happening, for me, they seem so slim. And I just think this board are making a lot of mistakes. I think footballing-wise, I think Maresca's already made some mistakes. And I think there obviously isn't an instant fit here, because people told me, people that have apparently watched all of Maresca's games, and I've been told that Maresca himself has said he watched all of the football last season from Chelsea and he knows the team, but he still misprofile players. Reece James is playing in centre midfield. Malo Gusto is playing in centre midfield. Malo Gusto was, I think, our second highest assist.
I have a major issue with that, by the way. I
weird.
tweeted about it. Chelsea fans got on my case because I said woke football is ruining this game, because Reece James is one of the best attacking fullbacks, obviously when he's fit, which is no guarantee. But when he is fit, he's probably Chelsea's best chance creator outside of Cole Palmer. And you're playing him in midfield, which he hasn't played since he was on loan at Wigan, which is in 2018. That's a long time ago. Malo Gusto, like you just mentioned, had I think 7 assists last year. He's only 21. He needs to continue developing as an attacking fullback to what he could be, to the best that he can be, which is a scary level in my opinion, because I think he can end up being one of the best right backs in the world. Now you have him playing inverted, which he's not really comfortable doing with. And my issue with Maresca is I watch a lot of Leicester because I like the Championship. He has not changed his philosophy from Leicester to Chelsea at all. Obviously, it's good to have your principles as a coach, right? We all want our coaches to have a principle, but you also need to adapt to your squad somewhat. If you cannot ask a midfielder to play like you did Ndidi, or you ask him to play like Harry Winks, or whoever the right back was last year, was it Ricardo Pereira? You can't.
Could you imagine him sitting down with Enzo Fernandez and pulling up the Harry Winks tape from last year and going, "Listen, lad, Harry, I need you to play like Harry did."
So it's like I just look at a coach that this is why I always feared what Maresca could do at Chelsea. I said if it goes well, it looked really good, because I do think that his philosophy can't end up suiting these Chelsea players, because I do think there's a lot of players in the Chelsea team that can play possession style football. But what about a Cole Palmer? Cole Palmer's going to want his touches. He's going to want to be the guy that's going to have the ball a lot, like Poch entrusted into. You can't ask Cole Palmer to then just be a keep the width kind of winger and just be there. You're gonna have to profile him correctly. So that's why I always said JDP managers that come from the Championship, we've seen about 5-6 of them now that dominate the Championship. They come to the Prem and they end up failing.
Because it's a different scenario that you're in. Enzo Maresca last year, from what I watched, had the best side in the Championship in terms of overall quality. So the way he played worked because his team out-teamed everyone else. The fact he nearly fucked it up in quite magnificent fashion should have been a red flag. The next red flag should have been Leicester fans not being too arsed that he went. The next one, he now seemingly can't profile. They've got Steve Cooper, and they're all happier, apparently. The next one, you go look at his other managerial career, 5 months at Parma, where he spent a shit ton of money, tried to implement his philosophy. It didn't work out. He threw the players under the bus, and he was sacked.
Yeah, but Tom, he has been the assistant manager of Pep Guardiola
for 1 year, right?
That's what I hear every single time I speak about Maresca.
Oh my god! So let me get this straight. Chelsea fans who for years clowned on Arsenal for having Arteta's big boy as their manager. Now their big selling point behind their new gaffer was he was the big boy for Pep Guardiola for a year.
And if you ask Pep,
yeah,
who
but
he
there's
rates
a
higher
massive
between
difference.
Arteta and Maresca,
I said that people didn't like that. I said that yesterday. There's a massive difference. When Arteta was hired, he had a lot of time, and now in hindsight, we know that he had a lot of time. They spoke about it publicly. They said that Arteta's job was to clear out the team, the people that are there, and actually get a new team in, and he had time, and he used his time. Maresca doesn't have that time. There's only one, and I said that yesterday on my stream. Give me 1 second.
He has to have the time. They've given him 5
But just give me 1 second why I don't think you don't have time.
Right.
There is one player that needs clearing out, which is Raheem Sterling. Everyone else was bought to support the project. Everyone that is there now. So for him to have time, what I mean is that he can have 1 season. But this guy, to be honest with you, he doesn't, on paper, he doesn't have the experience to lead a team like this. He was coaching at Parma, and then he's coached at Leicester 1 year. But that's about it. And if you don't make Champions League next year or the year after, what is then? You go down into the hole of like, okay, that's 4 years now or 3 years of not Champions League. Because other teams are improving. Villa are improving. And Villa now aren't just buying players.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The only way, clearly, change their attitude and their philosophy around football is when their back pockets are hurt. And until that happens, they will not change what they're doing. Until they are no longer able to take the sizable amounts of money out of the club that I think they're projecting they're going to be able to do, they will then change their ways. Other than that, as long as they're making profit and they're in a position where their investors are happy, I genuinely don't think they care that much about the footballing side of things. They just think that they can spend their money now and then let it sit. Let this squad improve. Every summer, sell the best 1 or 2 players. The Chelsea Football Club that we knew before Clear Lake Capital is no more. I've said it so many times. The identity has been ripped out of this club from top to bottom, all the way to the fan. They don't care about the fans. They're the first club to introduce a £5,000 football ticket that used to literally. Yes, they do. They have the Dugout Club. It used to cost a £5 back in the 90s to sit in the exact same seat. It now costs £5,000.
You got to pay $5,000 to sit behind the dugout
for one game.
Behind the dugout, and it's selling to the likes.
£5,000 the ticket. That's a
one
ticket. That's
one
one
game,
ticket.
And it was tried against Manchester United, and it's selling to the likes of like Cara Delevingne, celebrities that Todd Bowley is inviting over that he's got links with from Hollywood to try and advertise this ticket. They've completely revamped the West Upper into this fancy sort of seating. They give priority access to away games to fans that pay for hospitality season tickets. They've removed subsidised away travel. They do not care. They've raised season ticket prices and ticket prices above inflation level. They do not care about the fans. They don't care about the staff that have been there for their whole lives. Their whole working career. They might have done 15 to 20 years as a caterer at Chelsea, as a groundsman. They know that pitch inside out. They sacked them on the spot. But they do not care. Ever since they come in, they've been ripping out the identity. And now we are seeing the fruits of their labour. We're losing 4-1 to Celtic in a pre-season game, playing atrocious football. People telling me that Maresca has this clear idea of how he wants his team to play. I saw the team with no idea. We have taken a step back from Pochettino by miles on the evidence of this pre-season game.
Who would have thought that going from one of the best managers of the last decade to a guy who failed at Parma?
I think, Tom, I do think saying he's the best manager of the last decades is
no,
rich.
I never said
I hear what you're
I said
saying.
he was one of the best.
One
of the better managers of the last decade.
It's absolutely wild.
I do hear what you're saying. So, look, the thing is, I want to give Maresca time. He's been given a 5-year contract. The one thing I always say is, as a manager, and I always back a manager in this situation, unless they are given the absolute best tools to do the best job capable at a club, other than that, I feel like it's unfair. And I feel like Roman Abramovich always gave every single manager at Chelsea the absolute backing to do the best that they could achieve. And that's why so many of Chelsea's managers had success. And as soon as they dropped below the level that they'd shown they could reach, they're removed from their position. Do I think that Clear Lake Capital have given any of their managers the absolute best in terms of tools to achieve? No. Does Maresca look like he's being given the best tools to succeed? Not right now, it doesn't. Maybe in 6 years' time, he may have a squad that looks like they're at the right ages, capable of competing for something in the Premier League again. But what are we doing in that present time whilst we're waiting for these players to develop? I'm really not sure. People can claim this is overreaction or whatever, but look, I'm going to give him time. I'm going to back him. The jury's not out on him yet, but it's not a promising start. And
the odds are stacked against him.
Yeah,
there's a very slim chance.
Of course they are. And by hiring a manager with his CV, the odds are stacked against him before a ball's even kicked. Then you have the whole situation that went on between Enzo and the other players in the squad. That straight away doesn't help. That upsets the apple cart when all you want as a new manager is to come in and have this team gel as quickly as you can. We're introducing a load of new players again, which was an obvious problem for Pochettino the season before. You're upsetting the chemistry that's already being built between these players. They're starting to get to know each other towards the end of the last season under Pochettino. Well, again, it's being upset. They've now lost Petrovic, who finished the season as their goalkeeper. Then they put Sanchez back in. Now they said, actually, Sanchez might not be good enough, so we're going to go and sign another one. Then Trevor Chalobah comes in. We barely lose a game with him in the side. Now he's been removed. Straight away, there's volatility again at Chelsea Football Club. And I've said this time and time again, Chelsea are crying out for some stability. Whether that stability leads to success, I'm not sure, but stability would help the managers and the players just to get an idea of where this club currently sits. And then they could make realistic improvements or additions to the squad.
I mean, going into the season, did you sit there, look at the squad and go, we should sell Petrovic and buy a new goalkeeper?
If the goalkeeper was coming in was at the level of like a Mike Maignan or an Oblak wanted to leave,
so as long as it wasn't a Philip Jorgensen who plays for Villarreal and no one's
what
ever
I'm
heard
struggling
of.
to understand, Tom, with Chelsea right now is why is every replacement a massive step backwards? Like we lose Thiago Silva.
Potential.
No, they don't. But yeah, but Tossin's 26 years old. He's touched his ceiling. The bloke's 6'8". Like, there's nowhere else to grow, mate. Like, do you know what I mean? He's not going to improve.
There's no structure, there's no logic. And my favorite thing about this whole Clear Lake project is we're going to buy players with potential. So when they realize that potential, we're loving life. Who are they going to learn off of in the squad to reach that potential? Because players don't just
be coached by now, Tom, as well. They're going to be coached by Maresca. What does he offer as a coach? Do you know what I mean? All right, he's worked with Pep, but this isn't an ex-pro.
This is what Pep Guardiola done when I was working with him for a year. I will do it now. It will work.
Yeah. Learn from me, guys. I listened to Pep in a meeting. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. At least other managers, you know, like Pochettino, if you're a young player like Enzo, you grew up watching Pochettino play for your national team. And that's where I buy into giving ex-pros managerial jobs, because they offer that insight into the game that someone from the outside can't do.
I mean,
but then I'll buy in. I don't mind listening to a Jose.
Sure Cole Palmer. How old's Cole Palmer? 21.
Yeah,
I'm sure Cole Palmer watched reruns of Enzo Maresca's 2 years at West Bromwich.
They've actually, they're one of the two that actually do know each other. One of the three, I think. There's 3 players that know each other.
Oh, yes, he was at City.
He was at City.
Probably watched him at West Brom.
Tossin was at City as well. So I'm not sure whether there's a link there. And obviously Romeo Lavia as well may have been part of that.
as well, you know, and, took him from Leicester because that's
Joe Shields as well, obviously, is aware of what Maresca was doing at City. Obviously,
to be honest with you, this team deserves a better coach. And I said that every time I spoke about Chelsea. And I got slaughtered for saying that. You don't want to give Maresca a chance. You don't want to give Maresca a chance. No. If I'm a Chelsea fan, no, I don't. No, I don't.
But we're in a position now where we have to.
Look at the manager. The thing is, Chelsea, whether it was a good identity or not, Chelsea had an ingrained identity, which was short-term project where you bring in the best of the best managers, have them for 2 to 3 years, spend a shit ton of money, win the short term, it blows up year 3, we start again.
Yeah.
Trying to change that, and was it the greatest identity in the world? No, but the fans knew it. The fans liked it because it brought them success, and it was a culture around the football club. Clear Lake have come in, have went for the complete opposite in terms of everything that Chelsea has been built on for the last 20 years under Roman Abramovich.
Mm.
The fans are now fucked because they don't like it because the previous regime worked. This one doesn't. The squad has been completely overhauled with no consistency or no structure. The behind the scenes has been overhauled, no consistency, no structure, constant changes, people coming in and leaving. Why didn't they just stick with the old strategy? Was it the greatest? No, but it worked.
They stuck the team with the best players available, right? It was the best players in the market.
Go ahead. Hold on.
Griggs. I think they needed to change the old strategy because, like you said, it wasn't perfect and stuff like that. But they've gone the complete opposite. Like they mentioned,
they should have gone in the middle. Change the old strategy apart from for political reasons. In terms of a footballing strategy, it was one of the most successful football clubs in Europe. I think for the last 25 years. You don't need to fix something that isn't broken. Maybe tweak it to make it more efficient. But they didn't need to do what they were doing. We were generating money through player sales. We were winning trophies. Yes. We were doing all of this stuff before under Roman Abramovich.
Fan base increased, shared sales increased in America, in Africa, in Asia.
Mo, the more you win,
the more shirts you sell, the more.
Yeah, Mo, do not forget that this is now the 2nd season in a row these experts in marketing have failed to attract a club front of shirt sponsor. again.
No, but what I'm trying to say is like obviously the old strategy, like you were winning the trophy stuff like that, but the way football is developing into that old strategy was gonna get found eventually, and it was gonna be very because even before clearly took over that last year, that last full season of Tuchel, right, where you finished third, you sleepwalked to third because the rest of the Premier League was so shit, but you were bad for those last 4 to 5 months. That Champions League team, you were dominant, but when you look at that squad that Thomas Tuchel had the last full season, that was not a good squad in my opinion. I thought that squad was very mediocre.
Better than what they've got to.
Obviously, better than what they got now.
How is a team that wins a Champions
I get what Grace
League?
is saying.
Hang on, Mo. I've got to say something.
In my opinion,
how is a team that includes the now great Kai Havertz, N'Golo Kante, UEFA Player of the Year Jorginho,
he's washed.
Rudiger, one of the best centre backs in the world. What mediocre? Do me a favor. Mason Mount, Kovacic. What? Come on. They're not mediocre. Chelsea's team right now is mediocre.
I'm sorry. Other than Rudiger, which one of those players in the past 2 to 3 years has looked good at any point? Because Reece James is very injured. Mason Mount has not played a game.
Reece James, when he's played, has looked good though.
When he's played, but you can't depend on him. That's why you signed Malo Gusto's probably the
Kai
one
Havertz has looked good.
N'Golo Kante's looked good. I mean,
Jorginho's
looked good around.
I'm sorry, N'Golo Kante's all the way in Saudi, and okay, he had a good group stage in the Euros, but in the knockout stages, he was not good at the Euros.
But they're still good players. They were just separated and sent to new teams. You can't expect them to perform.
No, but you look at those players. Kante was obviously on the decline. He missed out. He was getting injured. He was getting more and more injured.
Yeah, but then he went to Saudi and he's not had injuries. There's obviously an issue at Chelsea.
That's where Kante needs to be at this stage of his career, though.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. There is an issue at Chelsea Football Club regarding injuries. We had the most injuries for the longest period of time last season that affected the squad. We beat Newcastle
and the season before.
Do
you remember Kovacic and Kante both were injured for the longest time at Chelsea before they moved, and people were like, who's going to play in the midfield? And this is why they rushed and bought Enzo, because they needed a midfielder at that time to just come in and start, because they were like empty. There was Jorginho, and I get what people are saying that. But listen, just apart from the team itself, maybe needed an overhaul, but it didn't need an overhaul with a 21, 22 years old average.
I agree with that. That's why I disagree with their.
With 25 players as well, by the way. 25.
That was strange, bro. Having Palmer, Madueke, Jackson, Mudryk, Caicedo, Enzo on the pitch, and that is strange. That is strange for a football team. Having that much, like, I don't think that worked. Even Arsenal, they said, well, maybe Odegaard at 24 years old now. We needed the Declan Rice, 24 years old. We needed a party. We needed, like, that notion of just 21, 22 years old, and there's like, put them on the pitch. Very talented. It never worked in football. Never worked.
But they thought it was going to be easy when they came. They're from cryptocurrency and investment funds.
They're also successful in American.
Can I add something? There is a reason why. For the people that talk about Osimhen, I'm gonna do a show later when I speak about transfers and Osimhen and Lukaku and Harry Maguire and all this stuff. I get what Grace is saying, but there is a limit for it. I'm gonna give you an example. When Inter wanted to replace Antonio Conte for a project and whatever, we went for a manager that has been coaching Lazio, went to cup final, challenged for the league for about 3-4 seasons. You can go for a manager that has challenged before. You don't need to go to the championship manager. That's what I'm like. You didn't need to go there. Chelsea could have had a project. Maybe it failed with Graham Potter. There are managers out there. Xavi won the league, and he was sacked. He has experience. Like, you didn't need to go Maresca. You didn't need to go all the way to Pep's assistant like Arsenal. Maybe you could have started a project with Hansi Flick. Say, oh, Hansi Flick come in, will ingrain the German way of playing football with these players. It didn't need to be Maresca. It could have been De Zerbi with more experience. It could have been someone that at least have a resume. Enzo Maresca.
But what they're trying to do, Mo, is I completely hear you on this, by the way, and I don't disagree. But what the idea I've got from this board is they're trying to be ahead of the curve. So they don't want to have to go to Brighton and hire De Zerbi. They want to hire De Zerbi before he went to Brighton, if that makes sense. Or even though De Zerbi probably had more experience coming from Shakhtar, that's kind of where they're getting to. That's why they're trying to
for
sign.
years.
Do you know, like, what I wonder is if Maresca had gone to Brighton and they'd got him from Leicester and that was their replacement for De Zerbi, there probably wouldn't be uproar at Brighton that they just got Maresca, and they'd give him time. And then in a year and a half, 2 years, he'll probably have him playing fantastic football. And then he'll move for like 15 million euros to Chelsea, to Manchester City, something like that, right? Say that's the idea. Chelsea are trying now to be one step ahead of that. They want to be the Brighton before and then move it to the top level without the jump, if that makes sense. And that's why they're doing this. They're going for these players before they're even scouted or by Brighton. They're doing the scouted job themselves.
They should have just bought Brighton.
They should have, right? I completely agree. But the issue is, and the reason they didn't buy Brighton is because they believed they could do exactly what Brighton were doing and then have the model and the image and the club of the size of Chelsea. And that's why they did it. They had the money to buy Chelsea, but they wanted Brighton's system. And they believe now that they can skip the stepping stone of Brighton, if that makes sense. That's their model, as much as I can look into it and understand in a footballing sense of things. It's very confusing.
Brighton aren't looking to win trophies.
No, they aren't, Mo. And that's what I think the point is being missed by Clearlake, Whit Stanley, Stewart. I think they've completely missed that point that Brighton aren't successful on the pitch in terms of winning trophies. And I think they're either naive, thinking that Chelsea then can be successful, or they have, because of their lack of awareness to the European sport or the European game, they've completely misjudged the fact that these players might not guarantee winning you trophies. And the addition of 1 or 2 may be helpful to the squad, but the addition of 20 players under the age of 25 isn't going to help many teams at all. And I'm starting to think they've misjudged it.
Dio here is saying, how many Enzos does it take to relegate Chelsea? The answer is 2. Chelsea aren't getting relegated. You
Never
never
know. You never know. And I'm not going to. Do you know what, right? I know that sounds ridiculous to suggest, but there were times last season under Pochettino where we were, or even that season before when we were falling off under Frank Lampard.
When you were like 13.
Yeah, we were at a stage where our form matched the relegation sides when we finished 12th. Yeah. We were, if we hadn't have had Thomas Tuchel at the beginning of the season, we may have got relegated. Like, that's how bad it was. So I remember sitting there scraping 40 points, thinking this is absolutely ridiculous that we're in April trying to scrape over 13. We're on 39 points trying to get to 40 in April. So you never know. And teams aren't too good to go down.
There are some teams that are too good. Listen, AMT is asking, after all of this been said about Maresca, do you guys think he overrates himself? I don't know. Really? What do you mean he overrates himself?
I just don't think he's a very good. I don't think he's a very good manager. If that's what you're asking.
I think it's actually wrong for us to say that. It's not that he's not good as a manager. He's just, as if I told that before.
No, I'll say it.
Tom, if I get you and hire you as a manager, I wouldn't know if you would be given a chance to learn on the job.
No, but you wouldn't know because I've got 0 experience. I have stuff to go off.
He has 2 years of experience. Wasn't he sacked from Parma?
He was utterly shit at Parma and then scraped by at Leicester, which should have been an absolute canter.
I mean, I don't think the CV. I think there's a lot of managers out there right now that haven't had the greatest of CVs that still end up being like a lot. Xabi Alonso went from Sociedad's B team to winning a Bundesliga within 18 months. It's like,
but this is the outlier. You know that, right? You know that these are outliers.
Xavi went from Qatar to winning La Liga in a span of 18 months.
And he was given. Do you remember he was given Rafinha? He was given Lewandowski. At that time, he was coming from a Ballon d'Or nomination. Lewandowski at Bayern. He had Frankie de Jong. He had a team that was
also
good.
Barca were like the second best team in that.
No, I'm not saying Maresca.
Chelsea are like.
By the way, yes, I get what you're saying, Griggs. There are outliers there. If I'm gonna give you an example, Arne Slot would maybe he doesn't have a big experience, but he's going to a ready-made team that already they have players that even if Arne Slot shits the bed at some point, Mohamed Salah and Van Dijk and Alisson and even a McAllister can sit together and really carry the team. Van Dijk can really captain the team and say on the pitch. Chelsea look around last season. There's only Gilberto Silva, and the other guy is Raheem Sterling, who fights over penalties.
I'm
Well,
not even
no, they
trying to-
FaceTime their captain in the hospital
No,
bed.
what I'm trying to say is, like, when you look at managers, in my opinion, what Chelsea should have done, especially with Maresca, they should have, whoever like does the data and stuff like that, should have peeped how he plays. He at Parma, he played the same exact way he played at Leicester, and at Leicester, he probably played the same way he did in City's academy. The guy doesn't adapt his system at all to the players that he has. And from the moment that any guy at Chelsea should have seen that, they should have canceled the contract. The guy doesn't adapt at all, and that's why I hate JDP management. And that's why a lot of people talk about this Pep coaching tree. Other than Arteta, who really has thrived under Pep's coaching tree, because the rest of them, they try to copy Pep the same exact way. Arteta in the beginning, yes, but then he also figured, I don't have the squad to do that, so let me play a 3 at the back. Let me be a little bit more defensive and pragmatic until I get the players that he has now. These guys, Maresca will try to play the same exact way he did at Leicester, like I mentioned, with Ndidi, Harry Winks, Jamie Vardy up top, Patson Daka, Mavi Didi. He's going to try to think that Mavi Didi, he could replicate what Mavi Didi did at Leicester with Mudryk. Mudryk can't do that. He's not good enough. So it's like...
The other thing about Arteta is that he came in mid-season. He didn't have time to do anything. It's just like, throw some stuff together and let's just survive for a while. And this might be true with Maresca. Maybe he is actually a really good manager and he can turn this around, but you have to suffer maybe some really bad times to get there. And does the fan base have the patience? Does the owners have the patience?
Do you know what Chelsea fans say, Martin? Do you know
trust the process?
Already suffered 12 and 6. These were bad times.
No, but
someone told me before. I thought these were the bad times. What bad times? I'm not expecting bad times. Really, some Chelsea fans think this way. Think that the bad times are gone now. It's the good times now. Brighton is a financially stable club. That is what Clear Lake is copying. Clear Lake don't care about the winning. That's what Dan is saying. But you need to understand, Chelsea Football Club is not going to be Chelsea Football Club moving like Brighton. It won't work this way. Chelsea fan base and Chelsea fan base around in the world, the marketability, the wage bill that is there has to be based on Chelsea winning or making Champions League. That's not Brighton getting Idingra from an unknown place and giving him 20. Moises Caicedo was like 5K a week, guys, when he was at Brighton. Chelsea can't work this way. It won't work. It won't work. You're not going to do that.
Yeah, you have to have success, Mo. You're spot on. Because the success
but
generates the financials to run a club the size of Chelsea. Because what happens,
right? The balls, right? Because they've got an 8-year contract, right? You can't. Well, get rid
exactly.
Of the owners.
But what happens? So right now, it looks like Chelsea are going to cope again this summer. We're set to raise a potential another 150 to 170 million. We've already raised 90. We could have another summer where we raise in excess of 250 million, right? That means we'll get through again because we might not spend 250. And if we do, we'll spend a little bit over. We might throw in 300 million. And that means we'll get through. We'll have another season where they get away with it. What happens in 2 years' time when the squad still isn't winning anything? We haven't got a sponsor. We haven't got a Champions League football or Europa League football, right? And then there's no players that are of recognised quality to sell apart from maybe a Cole Palmer or something like that. We're going to start seeing a reduction in what Chelsea are able to offer players in terms of wages. That we're going to start seeing that. It's delayed. And I think what Clear Lake are doing is they're trying to push it as far into the distance as they can. So just maybe they might be out of the club by then. Or luckily they luck out and their system and their model starts to work that they then have a successful side. But look, there are a lot of issues. I want to give Maresca time. And I think, unfortunately, he's coming into a team that is very volatile. It's had a lot of changes over the last 3 years. If he was coming in as an inexperienced manager to a team that was settled, there are also struggles in that, I understand. But I think at least then it's a new manager meeting a settled squad of players. But the fact that they're unsettled and he's unsettled and they're all inexperienced together, it's going to take a long, long time. And hence probably why they've given him a 5-year deal and they're willing to wait. If not, they probably wouldn't have given him that. So we're just going to have to see what
Listen,
happens.
just
But
for 5 minutes, I want to touch on Manchester United and the expectations under Erik ten Hag just quickly before we end the show in 5 minutes, just the last 5 minutes. I want to give Griggs the expectations this season for Erik ten Hag with the squad he has, especially now. This Maguire staying, you're going to get another center back. What is your expectations? And guys, we got over 550 people here and we aren't even in 300 likes. We need 400 likes now. So if you are here now, hit that like button for us, people. Before we move on, just hit that like button. Griggs, quickly, just touch on Manchester United since we didn't have the time to go in depth with it. So give me that expectations this season for Manchester United.
Probably top 6 in Europa League. That's what I expect. No, nothing else less. Obviously, we had an injury in Lenny Yoro on Saturday. I don't know how long he's out for. They haven't really announced.
How long is it? No one's
I don't
told
know.
us.
It's meant to be worse than Højlund, so I'm gonna assume about 1 to 2 months. That's the expectation I'm gonna put on the injury. Which means we have to go sign another center back now, whether that's Matthijs de Ligt. I want Trevor Chalobah personally from Chelsea because they're valuing him about 20-25 million. I think for me that'd be good business. We're linked with him. Mazraoui, we have to wait for Wan-Bissaka to go, but he should be done very soon, which is for me a direct upgrade. So we'll see. I liked what I saw on Saturday personally until Højlund and Euro got injured. The first 30 minutes, I thought we played really good transition football. The passing looked good. Rashford looked sharp. Mason Mount looked excellent for me. I hope that if he played like that the whole season, then he'll be worth at least half the price that we paid for him, which is nice. Højlund looked sharp. So yeah, it's just I have to wait for my guys to come back because we haven't seen a lot of our players. Like I haven't seen Licha come back yet. I haven't seen Bruno come back yet. Mainu, Luke Shaw. Who else is there? Actually, that's pretty much it. Dalo as well.
Has Eriksen got a new deal? I missed that
No,
part.
no,
I thought he'd run out, but he's still
No,
playing.
he has one more year left on his deal.
Oh, okay.
I think he'll probably leave on a free. Lindelof is almost out the door, so that's good. Thank God for that. So yeah, we just have to end our business. I can't really make a whole judgment on what our expectations are until the window finishes because I think we have a lot of business left to do, whether it's in terms of sales and in terms of in-bringing. So I'll have more of a overall grasp of the situation once the window ends. But as of right now, as the current squad is currently constructed, I'd say top 6, and I think we should still be favorites for the Europa League because I don't really fear any team in that competition. Other than the Bilbao, especially now that Nico Williams is probably staying there, I fear them a little bit because I hate Spanish teams in Europe. But other than them, I'll never fear Spurs in Europe, ever, ever, ever. I don't care who they have on their team. I will never fear them in a European competition, and I don't fear anyone else. So,
have you got a left back? Like I know Luke Shaw's there, but is Maresca like even alive?
Nah, he's really not. I'm not joking. I don't think he's alive.
Maresca
no,
got
he is. He's actually just been to hospital in like the last week and a half.
Yeah, I think he had
He
another
was
botch
involved in
surgery
a
or something
car
like that.
crash.
Yeah, bro. See, like the guy's cursed. Let's be real. Malashi's cursed. It's clip for that. But the good thing is Mazraoui can also play left back. He played left back that whole Morocco World Cup run, so that's good as well.
Mazraoui, the Bayern lad.
Yeah.
Another former Erik ten Hag Ajax man.
Yes,
Do you
but
to go
the good news is
and Onana.
Do you know that it's 4 years, Tom? You know that it's 4 years, right? 2018 to 2022, when he left, he was coaching Mazraoui at Ajax.
So
the good news is that I don't really care about this one because
by the way,
I
just find it's not an upgrade. He isn't an upgrade. He isn't an upgrade.
De Ligt, Mazraoui.
He's so weak, bro.
And they literally just lost Van der Beek as well. Like he's missed it by a minute.
And they had Lisandro Martinez as well.
Yeah.
And they spent years trying to get fucking Frankie de Jong. They nearly had the full squad back. Where's Tadic when you need him? Where's Tadic?
All right, first of all, to be fair, Frankie de Jong was
he can sign.
Frankie de Jong was
Davies. He could have signed that guy Davies as well from Spurs. Wasn't he coaching Davies as well? Spurs.
But anyway, Mazraoui, by the way, is a direct upgrade on Wan-Bissaka. I have watched Wan-Bissaka try to kick ball for the last 4 years, and he has not been good at it any single part. Yes, I know 1v1 defensively he's good, but I've seen also that guy fall asleep like a baby at the back post and lose us Champions League qualification. I've seen him lose us top 4 qualification because of how he falls asleep at the back post. Mazraoui can also play left back, which is also really good. So he's versatile. He's better. We're basically selling Wan-Bissaka for the same amount that we're going to bring him in, so it's really net zero negative and that kind of stuff. So to upgrade. Do I want De Ligt? No, not really. He's one of the one Ajax player I don't really want. I'd rather get Chalobah. Licha, I'm happy we signed him every single time. I'm glad. Well, Anthony's the only really bad Ajax player that we signed because the guy is the worst player of all time. But other than him, it's like 2 for 3. And De Ligt is not even a bad player. So he's an upgrade on Maguire, Lindelof.
And I
So it's
never said it
upgrading
was
the
bad.
squad.
I just find it funny that he's got 7
Yeah,
former
obviously
players.
it's not
It's
ideal.
stupid.
It's not the
Do
most
you not
ideal.
worry that if he gets sacked, yeah, and you're left with like his whole Ajax team that he had previously, like where are you at? The next manager that comes in is not going to want all of those players.
Well,
I've got a
and
theory about this.
Who succeeds
I mean,
Ten Hag at Ajax?
I'd love to hear
Just
a
get him
theory.
in. It would just be a
The
success.
theory is
story.
that Ruud van Nistelrooy is being
I do think if Ten Hag
he's
gets sacked this
there
season,
to take
he's
over
gonna be
in a year or
But
so.
okay, Licha is a great center back in my opinion, especially on the ball. Will the next manager want to play my center back is the real question because not every manager wants a 5'9" center back. Some of them want 2 aerial dominant center backs, which is fair enough. So maybe that. I think Mazraoui is going to be a backup anyway, so it doesn't really matter what next manager comes in because Dalot and Shaw are the starting fullbacks regardless. Anthony, the club want to get rid of him, but no one wants him. It's literally no one wants him.
No, you've got to
I don't
keep
blame
Anthony.
them.
Anthony's a great watch. I love watching Anthony.
Hey.
I love watching.
You like watching him in the FA Cup
and I
when he
love
scored against
watching
you,
your
right?
mind.
Anyway,
I love watching everyone's
Anyway.
mind.
I'm sure you like him in the
break
FA
when
Cup
you
when he
watch
spun Van Dijk.
Yeah, great.
Good.
Well done.
Who else is there? Eriksen's leaving next season anyway, so he's gone. I think De Ligt, most managers would like De Ligt as an option in the center back room. Probably not going to be a starter, but that's what we have Euro for anyway. So it is what it is. We're not signing Ajax players to be starters, other than Licha, and Anthony's not a starter anymore either because Ahmad took his chain real quickly. So it is what it is, man.
Yeah, the annoying thing is Ahmad's actually a good right winger. I preferred it when you didn't have good right wingers, so you just constantly go through the same shit 4 options.
Like I know. Now I have Ahmad. Now I have Ahmad who's changing my life. I know.
Sancho's going, right?
I think he's agreed personally
They're
with
trying.
PSG.
They're trying, bro. Trying.
Okay.
It's a tricky one with him.
I saw the funniest tweet. Just to end the show, guys. I saw the funniest tweet ever. So, Fabrizio Romano just tweeted this, and I want to everyone what comes to your mind, right? You understand Manchester City are closing in on a deal to sign Christian McFarlane, okay, from New York City FC. Agreement now done. And he goes to say, McFarlane has rejected bids from Brighton and German clubs for Manchester City. Another huge signing for Manchester City Academy. This is what we're talking about, multi-club ownership. And it's like he rejected deals from Brighton and German clubs as he had any choice of accepting these deals above Manchester City.
He had a choice. He probably got offered the same moves just lays down the line at City. Plus,
it's human trafficking.
Realistically, who's going to sit there and go, I could either go to Brighton's academy or City's academy? Which one do I want to go to?
No, my point about it, this did not require, it's like the signing and it's all the stuff. I'm like, it's just a
but it's the same with all. I've seen about 15 here we goes from Fabrizio for every Chelsea signing this summer. I knew 2 of the players they've signed.
Also, today in another multi-club, like Strasbourg are apparently signing some guy called Goncalo Boyes from Porto. That's obviously part of the multi-club model as well to go to Strasbourg, and then if Chelsea want him, they get first dibs. It's the same as City. It always has been. It was the same with Jack Harrison all those years ago. But I think
Savio deal is stinky.
Strasbourg will get relegated though. They've got Liam Rossini in charge, so they've gone for another championship manager over there.
Savio deal. The problem with this, the Savio deal, though, when I looked at the Savio deal, it didn't look like based on what he did with Girona last season. If Liverpool or Arsenal or Chelsea would bid for him, the price probably would have been way more than how much they got him for. And I'm like, that's a multi-ownership club.
Well,
I don't know if it's by the way, I don't know if it's right or wrong. I don't know.
He's not even a Girona player. He was on loan to Girona from Troyes, who got relegated because he'd never played.
Who are also part of Manchester City's multi-club model.
Troy. Oh my! Troy's record signing just never played for them. He just went out on loan twice and was sold.
It's gone.
How the fuck does that?
And then he was lighting up the La Liga. Let's imagine, and this is why I said sometimes this multi-club ownership is a little bit dangerous. Let's imagine this trio were not part of the same ownership, like Troyes, Girona, and this player was really loaned to Girona, and he was lighting up the Liga like last season. And Manchester City want a winger. How much do we think they would have paid for him?
They probably
60.
would have played
40.
it.
The guy had
Yeah.
11 goals,
Um,
10
The
assists.
thing is though, if you're keeping the same thing that he was at Troyes, but he was on loan from Girona, he would have went for the same price because Troyes are in bad financial shape because they're in like League 3 in the French
That's
league.
true too. Yeah.
Like if they were a League
But he
1
wouldn't
club,
have
then
been
I'd go, yeah,
playing-
50, 60. To be fair,
Wouldn't have been playing
he
that
would-
well.
if he was at Troyes, legitimately, he wouldn't be on loan at Girona because they paid about fucking 15 million for him.
But then Troyes probably wouldn't have the money to sign him for that as well.
Like
They
it,
weren't
it's
the most
all
comfortable.
just one big fucking.
But you
My
have the
favourite part of
people
the
you have to
Savio
feel
deal-
for, right? We can all sit here and laugh, but the people you have to feel for genuinely are the fans. And
Oh yeah,
Troyes are protesting against this City Group model. Strasbourg are protesting against the Blue Co model. These clubs are being ripped up and ruined to be part of these multi-club models because it makes the people at the top a little bit more money. It's crazy.
My favorite
I
part of
don't
the
know if
Savio
it's right
deal
or
was
wrong, to be honest.
wait,
Go ahead,
man. I love the way Savio. There was a quote saying that, like, I think he made the signing with Man City and trying to make it excited about it. And he's like, "Yeah, I never played with Man City on FIFA, but my best friend played with Man City, and I used to play against him." Like it's like his childhood club story. But Man City was like, actually, I didn't even play with him on FIFA.
Anyway, listen, guys. I want to appreciate everyone that watched us. I want to appreciate everyone that joined us. Of course, this was an absolutely just a completely different than the transfers that we all do all the time. Of course, Griggs's channel in the description, Dan's channel in the description as well, and we need to Nobbins and Rory's channel in the description. I just need to save it. But listen, people, these guys need to get the Griggs now is on like more than 1K. So we need more.
Yeah, I'm on 1,030. I'm going live right now actually to talk about the United game.
Go on, Griggs.
Because I haven't talked about it since Saturday.
So can someone drop the link for Griggs's show because I already redirected to them pots. Sorry. But listen, Tom Little as well, Rory, Nobbins as well. Next time, hopefully they will be here and we'll speak more in depth. Chelsea will have 2 games played or 1 game played. Club America next time. Liverpool would have played Arsenal, if I'm not mistaken. Not very exciting and very exciting. We'll see how it goes. But listen,
I mean,
appreciate
we are
everyone
all
that
hoping
joined
for
us.
another Club America win against Chelsea here, so we can just take the.
And
piss
yo,
again.
Club America have already played 5 games in their season, so they're gonna be ready.
So they're in peak form. They're in peak shape. Benoit Badiashile, he's not gonna know what's hit him.
Yes. Well, guys, this will take you to them pots. We'll see you guys soon, and we're out of here.
Hey, we played Tom. I'm worried about that. The Liverpool game.
I would.